when people ask me what is the biggest surprise in the last 10 years, so we started ARK in 2014. We wrote our first Bitcoin blog back then. 2015, we wrote our first white paper on Bitcoin. And we thought that Bitcoin in emerging markets would serve the role that stablecoins now are serving. And Tether is just an unbelievable story that way.
Cathie Wood just lit up the crypto world with a bold prediction, one that has Bitcoin believers and skeptics alike doing a double take. As the CEO and CIO of ARK Invest, she's never been shy about betting big on disruptive technology, but this time, she's raising the stakes. Her forecast for Bitcoin isn't just optimistic, it's groundbreaking. Backed by a wave of pro-crypto policies and a global shift in financial thinking, Cathie sees Bitcoin stepping into a future few dared to imagine. And she's not stopping there. Ethereum and Solana, two of the most important players in the smart contract and DeFi space, are also in her sights. The way she ties their growth into Bitcoin's trajectory paints a picture of a financial system on the brink of transformation. This isn't just another market call. It's a vision of where money, power, and opportunity are headed in the digital age. The real question is, are you prepared for the future Cathie Wood sees unfolding? Before we dive deeper into her analysis, I'd love your take. Where do you see Bitcoin 5 years from now? Drop a comment, smash the like button if you love crypto content, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. We bring you daily updates on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and everything shaping the crypto revolution. Now, let's unpack Cathie Wood's jaw-dropping prediction.
I just learned from one of the founders of Tether, Paulo, that they had no idea that Tether would become an important source of dollar exposure to emerging markets until COVID, when the children of in families in emerging markets would go to their parents and say, you don't have to go into the black market today to buy dollars. We can do this on the internet. And that's how it really spread, which is fascinating, isn't it? We thought Bitcoin would serve that role because we didn't know about stablecoins. And even very recently, I think we're becoming very surprised at how quickly the uptake of stablecoins is. So if we had to modify anything in that $1.5 million forecast, you'd probably see and you can see on a table in Big Ideas 2025 how we build up the bull case. We'd probably take a little bit from the emerging market part of that stack, but I think the much bigger force right now is it's the gateway into digital assets for institutional. It's a new asset class. That and the really substitute for gold as a store of value, another use case. Those are the two biggest, and those we have not changed at all our opinion on. So I think we can safely say that our bull case is well over $1 million in 5 years.
Where does crypto fall into your vision for a stronger next 6 to 9 months?
The regulatory environment is very important here. We've gone from a hostile regulatory regime under Gensler at the SEC to a very, very friendly regime now, with legislation guiding regulators instead of regulation through enforcement, which was forcing innovation off U.S. shores to other countries. And now that's changing aggressively, especially appointing 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗧𝗖𝗖, the czar for both crypto and AI, and this concept of agentic AI coming into view, where we will have our AI do all the walking and working and talking for us, up to a point, right? Because of agentic AI. And we need smart contracts because these agentic AI, our AI agents or assistants, are going to be interacting with sites, maybe like CoinDesk, that, where we'll need to pay some money for something, one thing or another. And these are going to be automated smart contracts. Well, agentic AI is going to make that happen. So this is the convergence of AI and blockchain technology. But before that, what we're also seeing is a revolution in financial services. Thanks to the green light from regulators, more financial services companies are moving into the blockchain world because they realize it's much lower costs. So as I explain to our clients what's going on here, I like to back up because I remember this time very well. In the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, when developers were first working on the internet, there was no idea that financial services or commerce would take place on the internet. And therefore, there was no payments layer. Now, thanks to blockchain technology, we have the payments layer. Over the last 30, 40 years, because we didn't have the payments layer, we needed to, and because financial services and commerce did migrate onto the internet in a very big way, the traditional world had to mitigate the risk of putting credit cards online and, trying to use traditional financial tools in this internet world. And all of the intermediaries involved have been taking anywhere from 2 to 3.5% out of each transaction, paid for mitigating the risk. We can probably drop that, and that's a tax on the system, right? We can drop that tax from 3.5%. These are US numbers. In Nigeria, the numbers would be 20% or more, right? Drop that tax from 3.5% to maybe 1%. And, the financial services world is huge. We think it's going to be a $250 trillion assets under management world in 5 years. So if you're talking about those kinds of numbers, taking 2 to 2.5% out of, or lowering the tax by 2 to 2.5%, will lower the friction in the market and increase the efficiency. So that's the cost dynamic. And I gave you the productivity dynamic around agentic AI, smart contracts, API to API transactions, including very small transactions.
Talk to me a little bit about, obviously Bitcoin, it sounds like with all the innovation that's happening in the digital asset space, you're starting to look at things outside of Bitcoin, which may have gone to the over 1 million by 2030 instead of the 1.5 million by 2030. What are, let's say, the top protocols or projects you're watching in crypto right now?
Okay. Well, again, because we're primarily in the public markets, and because I think one of our roles, just like CoinDesk's, one of CoinDesk's role, is to really educate. So we are watching our clients and guiding them carefully into the ecosystem. Bitcoin, Ether. We do have private funds, which had a very heavy weighting in Solana relative to ETH until recently. And, we made a very good move at a good time as Ether started to outpace Solana. So those are the big three for us. And, we're watching layer twos, of course, as well. And I think you'll see us, as we're trying to educate our primary client base, go more deeply into, the big three, talking in terms that financial analysts and investors will understand, looking at returns relative to risk, calculating the Sharpe ratio, the Sortino ratio, and so forth. So I think that's what we're really doing right now in terms of from an education point of view. That paper is in process. And the other thing we're going to do, like we have done with Bitcoin, so we put out something called Bitcoin Monthly. It's probably going to be Bitcoin bi-monthly, and we're going to layer into the alternative months Ether, Solana, and then the longer tail. So, and what this does is analyze on-chain or look at and evaluate on-chain analytics as, again, we educate our investor base about the kinds of signaling properties that these protocols have that we don't have in equities or bonds, because the transparency just isn't there the way it is in blockchain technology. So we'll do ETH, Solana, and others as time goes on, and as they begin to show themselves as interesting, especially to institutional investors. As I said before, with MicroStrategy, yes, that is a bet on Bitcoin. That's obviously the biggest asset in the space. We feel certainly that Coinbase is is powered importantly by Bitcoin, because where Bitcoin goes, others follow. So we felt that we had a good broad-based holding there. And as I said, Bitmine Immersions is not in the top 10, but we do think it's important now that Ether is showing up as an institutional preference, that it's important for us to be there.
Cathie, I really want to get your perspective here, because you've really made a career on betting on the future and your ability to see into the future and make big bets on technologies like that we've discussed, that many are just really trying to understand where they are going to sit in the world. And when it comes to Bitcoin, there's this narrative that quantum computing may threaten Bitcoin's security. And now that I have you here in front of me, I'm really curious as to your perspective there. Do you think that quantum computing could be a threat to the Bitcoin ecosystem?
So, of course, we think about this a lot. And in fact, we have our former director of research, we bumped up to chief futurist, because these kind of existential questions are so important. And, you know, he and our team, especially our crypto team, 𝗕𝗓𝗘𝗥𝗏, you may know him from a number of metrics in the Bitcoin on-chain analytics world, are named after David. He created them. So he's very interested in this question as well. So Brett, our chief futurist, and David have been evaluating the breakthroughs that we're hearing about. And there are breakthroughs, but they are small steps to, you know, something that could become explosive. When do we think that will happen? Brett truly believes it won't happen until the late 30s or 40s, if it's going to happen. And one of the reasons is because the progress in AI today is so rapid, so much more rapid than I think even we expected. And we've been watching this since we founded the firm and before, that some of what many people were looking at quantum to accomplish, AI is going to be able to accomplish. And, you know, I mentioned how quickly the costs are falling, but the speed at which AI is evolving technologically and not reaching sort of an asymptote in terms of performance, it just keeps going up the more compute power we throw at it. I think that's the more important theme right now, and will forestall a lot of capital moving into the quantum world. We want to see how far we can take AI.
And that's a wrap on today's video. Cathie Wood isn't just bullish on Bitcoin. She's calling for a future that could shock the world. Her bold prediction? Bitcoin soaring past $1 million by 2030. Fueled by innovation, adoption, and even the rise of AI shaping global markets. The question now is, do you believe it? Could Bitcoin truly reach that historic milestone within the next 5 years? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, make sure to hit the like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe. We bring you daily updates on Bitcoin, crypto, and the financial revolution happening right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.